Here's my review of The Odyssey, the newest movie by Christopher Nolan, an adaptation of Homer's Odyssey. And this is an incredible movie that you guys gotta check out. Movie begins with Odysseus on a 20-year journey back home to reclaim Ithaca from the suitors who are trying to claim the throne for themselves, have Penelope as their queen, and kill his son Telemachus. And this is a harrowing adventure. It's got a lot of action. It's got stuff that you would see in a war movie. It's got stuff that you would see in a horror movie. There's a lot of scary images, a lot of terrifying monsters, and Odysseus has to get back home. And right off the bat, I really liked Matt Damon's performance as Odysseus. He's, really good at playing a character that is a warrior, who knows how to handle a bow and arrow, who's a father, and who is also a king. And so everything in this movie that he did was really good. The acting on his part was amazing, and you have some degree of warmth to the character that you see in how he views his wife and how he views his son. And there's a family aspect to this movie that I really enjoyed. And from there, you have his men, you have the soldiers that he commands, and he's close with them, and he's loyal to his men. And I also thought that was really good. And he would do anything for them and die for them. And there's a real brotherhood that you see with that in the movie, and I really enjoyed that as well, because that was present in the story, in the book. And everything else, like you have performances by Anne Hathaway that's outstanding, in the way she manipulates the suitors and kind of just puts them at a stalemate, is really good. You have Tom Holland, who, you don't see Spider-Man in this role. You see a guy who, is a seasoned actor that has, really good at playing this character. And I thought his performance was outstanding. You have Zendaya, her performance is outstanding as Athena. I really liked what she did. It's not much, but it's really good. And I also liked Robert Pattinson. I think Robert Pattinson might be the standout for me as Antinous, the lead suitor. And he's dangerous. But he's a coward. He's a very violent man, and he's got all the elements that Odysseus is not. He's a very horrible human being, and all of his buddies are just as vile and evil as he is. And you just see a lot of good villainy in this movie. And that again lines up with what you what you read in the original book. And it's good that they put that in there. You also have elements of the monsters. You have various creatures that Odysseus faces, from the Cyclops to the Scylla, the kind of like multi-tentacled creature near the ocean that they cross. You have something that involves a witch in part of the story. That's also very terrifying. You have, Odysseus going to Hades with his men for information on where to go next to, return home. And that is amazing and creepy and unnerving. It had elements of something that you'd read in the Divine Comedy by Dante, and that's something that I really saw. There's a lot of elements to this movie that you'll see from other movies. The classic adventure story, with the hero's journey, you see that with stuff like Star Wars or Christopher Nolan's previous movies, like the Dark Knight trilogy. You see that elements of the video game series God of War. And again, the Odyssey, kind of birthed all of this stuff, with artists creating stories. And so, this is the original story of all of that, 3,000 years ago. So it makes sense that, when I was watching the movie, that I caught all that, because, all of these other stories were just taking bits and pieces of the Odyssey and elements of that. I mean, I saw elements of stuff like Ron, classic Akira Kurosawa samurai film in the Odyssey with the Battle of Troy, the sacking of the city, and you see that with all of it, and it all works. And what Christopher Nolan does is nothing short of extraordinary. I mean, this is next level filmmaking at its best, and him and his team use every trick in the book to create the world, to design the monsters, to show off the big battle scenes, and all of it is practical. There's very little CGI, very little. It probably isn't CGI. It's a lot of miniatures, it's a lot of puppetry, it's a lot of wire work, it's a lot of practical applications that they've used to make this film lived in, to make it feel hyper real and just a realistic interpretation of the book. But there are fantastical elements and mysticism, and Nolan keeps all of that in the movie, and it all works. And I just love that he did that. And there's a real sense of danger with the characters. When a character in Odysseus' crew dies, you'll notice it. It's quite horrifying when his team gets mutilated by these creatures that they encounter. And yeah, then there's stuff that is like the horror elements. Like, seriously, Christopher Nolan needs to do a horror movie because he's really good at doing that. And, he said he's learned from Guillermo del Toro, so it makes sense because all of the stuff that Odysseus encounters with the monsters is frightening. And I just, Hades to me is the highlight. That was just creepy. And how they get to that point, and like the reference that the witch makes about Hades, it's like between fire and ice. And again, that reminds me of like the Divine Comedy where the lair of Satan is in the last rung of hell, fire and ice, and yeah, that was just something that I caught when I was watching this movie, and I caught it again the second viewing when I saw it in IMAX 70 millimeter, and also the final battle is one of the best parts in the book, and Christopher Nolan outdoes himself again. It's not like shaky cam footage of fighting. Everything is clear. You can see it, and it just looks great on screen. And yeah, I loved the last part of the movie. The finale is great. There's no point where you should like take a bathroom break to watch this movie. Everything is just on and turned up to 11. And there's so much key information that characters say and do that, you can't miss any part of this. And it's a long epic. It is a 2 hour and 55 minute film, but it might as well just call it 3 hours, because it is. It's a 3 hour long action adventure R-rated fantasy movie. And again, I put this up there with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, with Harry Potter, with Star Wars. It's that good. Like, it's up there with all the great action fantasy movies. And the music is another key element that I really loved. It's nothing that's similar to something like John Williams or Howard Shore or Hans Zimmer. It's completely different. They actually used instruments that would have been used back then. I don't know. From what I heard, they like resurrected a lot of like those old instruments the musicians back then played, and so you got a soundtrack that doesn't feel quite like a traditional movie soundtrack. It feels otherworldly. It feels alien almost, and ancient. It's nothing that I've ever heard before. And the themes of Odysseus and Penelope, like that in particular, stuck with me. Those musical themes, I really liked it. And yeah, there's not a bad moment in this movie. There's nothing that I would change. Like even the modern language, I thought I would hate on it when I heard about it, but I didn't. I was engrossed from beginning to end. And yeah, that's just a testament to Christopher Nolan and his writing ability, which is exceptional. And you also, there's a lot of elements of his movies put into this movie. especially when it comes to like the ticking time bomb, the tension, and moving that into the finale. There's elements of Inception in regards to that. I saw a lot of elements that Dunkirk had in this movie. There's a lot of Dunkirk elements in this movie, of just like the waiting game of how this ends. Uh, there's elements that I've seen that were from Interstellar. There's and quite obvious. There's stuff with Oppenheimer, that tension as well. Uh, I even saw a lot of elements from the Dark Knight trilogy in this movie about, returning home. Bruce Wayne had to return home in both Batman Begins and in The Dark Knight Rises. And yeah, you have that with Odysseus with his return home. Uh, and so, yeah, Christopher Nolan, in a way, was making the Odyssey in all of his movies, even before he actually made the movie. And the elements are there, and they're very apparent if you've watched his movies. And even the qualities of, like, you know, the tricks or something, or, a magician's trick. You have that with, like, the Prestige, where you see things like the special effects or something that was another element. I saw like elements of the Prestige in this movie. There's just all of this wrapped around this movie, and it just creates something that's truly spectacular. And it's one of the many reasons why I love watching movies. And you see it always in a Christopher Nolan movie. And The Odyssey is, to me, his best work, and I put it up there with all of his movies. And it's the best movie of this year, of 2026. And you all should go see it. This is uh, an amazing story, an amazing movie, and you all got to watch it. Yeah, and I'm probably going to go see it a third time because I just can't get enough of this world, the story, the characters, the writing, the movie's anti war message, which I also loved. Um, and yeah, this is just an incredible work of art, a masterpiece. The Odyssey gets a 10 out of 10. So yeah, what do you guys think of the movie? Let me know in the comments section. Let me know what your favorite scene was, favorite part, your favorite moment, favorite line by the characters. Yeah, I would like to know. And go check it out. It is a masterpiece of a movie, and definitely one of the year's best. And that's all. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. All right. Bye.